for people who don't know, because there's no other way of people knowing this, because the episode doesn't exist, but we did this episode before, and it was an amazing chat with you. We had Maddie as co-host. Now we've got Aaron, but we thought we'd try it again, which is a left brain, right brain first.
Yeah, there we go. The second time is the charm, I think.
Yeah, and this time we'll probably take a different direction. Aaron never heard that interview because nobody's ever heard that interview because it doesn't exist. So shout out to Zoom for making that possible.
Thank you to our sponsor, Zoom.
Thank you so much. So the one thing I wanted to start with was something that hadn't happened yet, right? Last time we spoke, which was your working with Sabrina Carpenter on the new video, right?
Yes, yeah, that was, I think I may, if I'm remembering correctly, may have found out that I booked that job the day that we actually did our last interview, but it was, I did not know who it was for at that point. So.
Wow. And so the role is of the tailor. Can you tell me a bit more about that character?
Yeah, the character essentially was like a segue between the beginning of the video. She gets in this kind of car wreck, and then it turns into a bit of like a Rocky Horror inspired, like going up to a house of all these, like queer and colorful people, and at some point there is like an outfit change from when she first goes in to when she's leaving, and this. I'm blanking on. I think I saw the other day that it was like this archival piece that Naomi Campbell, if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong, had worn maybe in the 90s or something. But this really beautiful silver, must look like falling rain or something, maybe the tears of the video. And so my character essentially measures her up and does a few other shows, and then she transforms at some point in the video.
That's so cool. Was there lots of your character shot in the video that wasn't used as well?
We did a few different sequences that did not make it into there. And one of which was, I saw like a behind the scenes video had come out last week, and there was supposed to be a little part of somebody kissing a frog, and I don't know if it was going to turn in the true love, but I ended up doing this as well. And so if anybody has turned from a frog into a human being in the past month.
I mean, a lot of people have worked with them, and those videos that have come out, the one that you did for Tears, the one that came out before for Man-Child, that is like one of the most maximalist music videos I've ever seen in my life.
So absurd. And I think it was the Man-Child video was the directors of that one A$AP Rocky video. I think he's like in the car and there's like just all this stuff happening as well.
Yeah, I think I know the one you're talking about.
Shit.
What's your earliest memory of being moved by a movie?
I think, kind of going back into our original non-existent conversation now, I think I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, that maybe in like a formative life, it might have been, Twin Peaks more than it was a singular movie. But I've had these weird recollections recently that actually that would not be my actual answer. I think the real answer would be Alan Cummings' character Floop in Spy Kids.
Oh,
actually,
wow.
Demi's character in Spy Kids too. I've kind of like looked back recently, and they're both actors who have meant a lot to me, and that I feel absolutely indebted to and inspired by. But I think it was from these early scenes of these kind of outsider characters that were very misunderstood in the plots of both movies, and had this, very like different, or for the Floop character, very queer coded, and for Steve Buscemi, just this, fully outsider character that's kind of living in his own world, which is not dissimilar from Alan Cummings' character as well. But I've realized recently that I feel like the trajectory of my life in some ways was deeply impacted by both of those characters and actors, and, in hindsight.
I can definitely see both of them in your work. Alan Cummings is probably the most underrated actor of all time.
No, absolutely. He's incredible. And I've been meaning to do a deeper dive of his work too. I mean, his scene in Eyes Wide Shut, I feel like
I just watched that for the third time. And holy shit, man. He steals that movie.
He does. I mean, it's incredible. And listening, I watched an interview with him recently talking about, working with Stanley Kubrick, and just that scene took, I believe, a week or something of shooting, which is so unbelievable. Absolutely makes sense given his like incredible, like 150 takes or something that he would do with his actors. But
yeah, he's somebody that doesn't really get spoken about that frequently. I mean, I've seen him in everything from, I think he was in the what's it called? Like The Mask 2. Everything from like The Mask 2,
I don't know
Eyes
if
Wide Shut. He's in Hedwig and the Angry Itch as well, right? That's a thing.
he's
Yeah.
actively still working, and in the theater, I think he was up for and won an Emmy yesterday, I believe, for this show, The Traitors, that I have not seen, but a friend was telling me to watch it. And this was cemented more into my memory just because, I believe he won an Emmy just last night. So he's absolutely brilliant.
Congratulations, Alan Cummings.
That's funny enough, is the most recent thing I saw him in wasn't even a fictional. It was in this documentary called Chimp Crazy, because he's a huge animal activist, and he's in it quite a bit, and it's a full-on documentary about this lady like owning a monkey. It's a whole thing.
Right. It's not like Gorillas in the Mist or like Jane Goodall.
No, it's like all like guerrilla real, and like Alan Cummings shows up halfway through it to just like help with the case, because he's worked a lot with Peter in the past and like acted in their commercials and shit. And so he just shows up in the documentary, and it's like episode 3, and it's like, what the and he shows up as himself and kind of starts like giving guidance to this documentary crew, because he was friends with this monkey from this film in the 90s. He became friends with this monkey. I don't know. I'm rambling about.
What do you mean? Became friends
This is
with
real.
How can we, like...
He became friends with this monkey on a film set. I forgot which film, but it's from the 90s.
That's a very.
And he plays like a Dr. Doolittle kind of character, and he's friends with all the animals. And on set, he became really good friends with this monkey, and I forgot his name, Bubbles or something. And they brought him back for this show because they tracked down the monkey, that same monkey actor. And he's been living in captivity with this like crazy lady from America. And he helped this like documentary crew. Sorry, random Alan Cummings fact that
That was crazy. That was a real journey.
It seems to make so much sense at the same time, though. I feel like he does have that slightly. He's just like otherworldly and this very whimsical and incredibly way as well. Like I feel like he's not really trying to be. He just is this. It's like Tilda Swinton or something too, in a very different but not dissimilar way, where I feel like without trying, these people just exist as like these fictional characters that are kind of got into another world that seems a bit more beautiful and utopian than where we are now, but by all means.
Yeah, I mean, those times just seemed a bit more inspiring than when we are now. I know the last chat we had was quite serious, and quite dark with a hint of optimism, but maybe this time it'll be the opposite.
Yeah, we'll just have some dark humor in here instead.
For sure. Have you done theater works as well?
I haven't actually. I've always been very curious about it, but I think growing up, I was so shy and was so. I think it would have been a terrifying thing to imagine being in like a theater production or something. I remember seeing like posters for productions like The Elephant Man or Little Shop of Horrors in my eventual high school's like auditorium where they would have the plays and musicals. But I never thought, growing up, I never thought I would be in a position to, be in front of a camera or in front of an audience or anything. It just was so far outside of my frame of mind or possibility.
Yeah, it would be cool to definitely see how the skills that you've already learned would translate, and what you could bring to the table in that medium as well.
No, I would absolutely love to at some point. And I do love The Elephant Man. I think any story like that is just something deeply, deeply moving to me. And I know even David Bowie had done a run playing that character too. So
Yeah, his descent into film is also really interesting and fun. His collaboration with video game culture is insane. I'm not gonna go into that, but he's like
I
fully in like a video game and like he wrote
well,
it basically.
I think one of
yeah,
my favorites of his is when he cameos in Zoolander as himself, and it's like the power rest that you can have as an icon to just like show up as yourself, and everyone just like you don't even name drop yourself. It's like no, I'm just David Bowie. It's like what?
yeah. I mean, he was an incredible actor, and I think that's such an underrated part of his life, but is so much more attached to his earlier life because I believe he was in the theater and he was doing more like performance art before music became a part of his life, really. And I don't know, I love obviously he's in Twin Peaks as well in some capacity and
Yeah.
just so many interesting films. I saw this one earlier this year, the Linguini incident, that was such like a incredible like view of like 90s like postmodernism and New York, and interiors and the costumes are just so incredible. And I think it's him and Rosanna Arquette, and there's maybe a few other actors that I knew in it as well. So it was just very crazy like heist thriller, but very absurdist film.
Who are some filmmakers that are working now? I guess a better way to phrase it is who are alive still, who you admire.
And I don't know what the rest of his career is going to look like. I'm sitting beneath a David Cronenberg retrospective poster right now in my home, and he's someone whose work has always meant a lot to me. My feelings about his newest film are a bit more complicated, but I don't know. He's like in his 80s, and I in terms of contemporary filmmakers, I don't know. I think a lot of people from Europe and working in Europe, certainly. My favorite writer as well, Dennis Cooper, has become a film director as well, and he's done, I believe, 2 features now, and then this one that's kind of like an anthology type of film where it's a bunch of little vignettes all kind of put together for the duration of a feature. And his films just have this beautiful, like, quiet nature to them where there's no music. There's only ever music if the character is experiencing it, and there's just all these holds on people's faces, and sometimes it cuts in at like a moment where you don't get the context for why they're crying or why they're feeling this way, and you kind of have to wade through this very kind of unfamiliar territory of like just feeling the emotions that they are, or projecting your own emotions onto them. It's I haven't really seen much film like this. And in his 2018 film Permanent Green Light was just immensely moving and inspiring to me for that reason.
Yeah, it sounds like, and I mean, I can't really say this honestly because I haven't ever watched a full Terrence Malick movie, but it sounds very Terrence Malick in spirit.
Mm.
I believe so. He's somebody that I need to delve into as well. And I know that probably which I have a little bit of an easier answer for in terms of like an actor that's, much more in like his, like much younger than, like a Willem Dafoe or Steve Buscemi or Tilda Swinton, that I really admire is Franz Rogowski. He's like a German actor, and I believe he's done maybe 2 films now with Terrence Malick. And I feel like his work is just something so beautiful and inspiring and touching. I mean, all of his performances are just deeply moving to me in ways that really make me want to do this even more.
That's really cool. Yeah. I wanted to go more into sort of your work, specifically in film, and I wanted to know if you could share a moment on set where maybe your instincts as either a model or just who you are shaped the scene in an unexpected way.
I don't know. I feel there was a moment that I can kind of view as that did feel like there was a lot of kind of history and my own experiences colliding with what was happening, and it was bizarrely on a music video and not a film set, but it was very much indebted to German Expressionism and Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. And I believe that there was a Kenneth Anger film as well, who's another big hero of mine. And
I love Kenneth Anger. Yeah.
he was just so incredible. And but yeah, there's a very Rabbit's Moon, his film about the French like Pierrot clown, or French or Italian. I know
Yeah, actually I've seen that too. Yeah.
it's that was a really big influence, and I've had a really deep love affair with that type of, sad clown essentially. And being on set this day, working on this project that was not like a verbatim retelling of any of it, but deeply inspired by it, and working with this one actress who's become a really wonderful friend of mine, Lindsay Normington, and just this experience of being with somebody else and finding this emotion and having this real deep moment of connecting, in front of the camera, and what felt more theatrical than just than even like a film. It felt like it was more of like a stage play that we were shooting almost. And
Yeah.
there was something in that moment that just felt like so much of what I had done prior was kind of leading up to a moment like that. But modeling, or a lot of just the work I had done prior to that moment, it's so isolated, and it's so, you're working with people, but you don't. I think that's just what I love about acting, is the emotions and experiences when you connect with somebody. And I think that moment was the first day where something inside of me was just like, this is like the greatest feeling ever.
That's amazing. Like, which music video was this for?
It was for this Turkish band, She Passed Away. They're like a post-punk kind of gothic band. And the music video itself, it's because we were doing such long takes that were, then dispersed into music video editing. I do believe that moment never really translates in a way that a much more personal experience than what anybody really gets out of it as a viewer. But it was very, very impactful and meaningful to me, and with a number of people that I had also just had a very safe and comfortable connection and years of working with. So I think it just allowed this beautiful moment to kind of bloom and open something new up inside of me that I hadn't really felt before.
There is something really important to be said about just doing things because of how they feel rather than documenting them. And I've definitely surrounded myself with a lot of people who go out and kind of do, performative stunts or just get involved in something. And it doesn't always have to come to light in a product. Like you said, like you felt all these incredible feelings, and you have that incredible story and experience that draws on so much of your influence in your history. And yeah, it didn't get documented, released the way that, would have been best in order to document that. But it's great that you were able to have that,
Yeah, it feel like it was, I feel like certain people never really get to arrive at doing something that deeply connects with them. And on a music video set of all places, it's not necessarily the most likely place for this to even occur. I've been able to have other experiences on projects that, be them feature or short films, that do feel closer to this as well. But I think this was the real first time that I just felt like a switch was flipped or something, and just always eternally grateful for that, and just an incredible feeling.
That's fantastic. And even just listening to the influences that you listed before, like, in a funny bit of synchronicity in itself, I was at Aaron's house the other day, and he has that, the classic 1001 movies to watch before you die book. And in that book, I flipped to a Kenneth Anger movie that was promoted there, and it was Scorpio Rising. And I never actually sat through a Kenneth movie before. And then I went back and I watched that, and then that fully inspired the album cover for the album after the one that we're releasing now. So I think he's incredible. I think so many filmmakers and actors have so much, they owe so much to this person and how he influenced culture, both with his like interest in the occult, but also his way of using montage and music in movies.
No, absolutely. And it's incredible too when you think about the fact that he never made a feature film.
Yeah.
I feel like there's because I've worked on, a lot more short films than I've worked on features, but there's always something that I try to keep in mind with that too, is that I've one of the greatest people that have impacted me in his films, he never made anything more than, like a 20-ish minute film or something. And yet that has, like you said, it has impacted so much, and so much that we see now is, I do believe it's not like hyperbole to say it is like a direct descendant of his influence, And
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are obviously people like Lynch who have big bodies of work and are more not standard, because there's nothing really standard about Lynch, but Lynch puts out movies and he puts out TV shows, and every now and then he'll do like an experimental piece of art or something like that. But we know him as having accomplished these things, these bodies of works. There's this artist called John Baldessari. I'm not sure if you're familiar with his work.
I learned about him and in art school, I remember. I think because he was a visual artist as well.
Yeah, incredible kind of collage sort of artist, and also he's super tall like me. So I love a super tall artist when I can find him. He's passed away quite recently. I think in like 2020 or something like that. But he was well known for burning, I don't know how many years of work it was, but I think he burnt 20 to 30 years of work in one night. Like, he burnt his own work. He sacrificed all of his work up until that point to start new, to basically rise like a phoenix out of the ashes. And if you think about art in that context, it's similar to, and I guess somebody who's directed a movie that was fully shot but never got released, or what we were saying before, that Kenneth had never made a full feature movie. It's like, how do you start to question how you measure these artists in the first place, and their impact, because there's no solid body of work anymore to reference. I mean, this guy literally destroyed, and I'm sure he was referencing book burnings and stuff like that in the past, but I feel like he took his own history into his own hands, in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Francis Bacon, who's one of my favorite artists, would destroy many things, and yeah, I don't know, there's so much, just taking things into your own hands and kind of creating your own path. It's very, I don't know, to also destroy that much too. It's such an extreme measure, and
it's scary. I mean, it's certainly something you have to live with, especially because this was before the era of having, hard drives and, I don't know, TikTok reels in your backup folders. Like, we're talking like like literally your history. And I remember once I was in, I think it was Vancouver, and I'd got there with nothing more than like a backpack, and I'd actually left the backpack with my hard drive with all my art. And this was before I started posting it, so there was no documentation of my art. And I remember we went up to inspect an apartment, came back down, the backpack was gone. And that whole night I said to myself, if I don't find that backpack back, I'm never going to make a single line on a piece of paper again. I quit art. I quit everything I'm ever going to do creatively. Believe it or not, we actually found it in a police station on the other side of town behind a bulletproof sort of enclosure, where the cop came out. He's like, "Is this yours?" And I was like, "If it has a hard drive, it's mine." And he dumped it, and the hard drive was there. And I continued to become an artist. That was like 8 years ago, and I meant it too. If I lost all that work, that was game over. It was never going to be repeated,
No, absolutely. And how many people get a sign as significant and bold as that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it had everything from my teenage years that I'd compiled everything. But also, this is also very synchronous and topical, because it's the nature of this conversation.
No, I've had two in the back of my mind right now.
And I didn't mean this wasn't in my notes, but the fact that we had a whole chat that will never be heard, but we decided to do what I wouldn't have done. It had history not gone the way it did, and tried again. And that, I mean, some people see it as like, I guess some people like to draft a drawing or a painting before they draw it. So the actual attempt, like, you could continue to recreate it as many times as you want, really, but it's very technical. It's why this interview or chat couldn't be the same as the last one, because to try to reenact that is missing the emotion and the beats and just the all that kind of good stuff too. But anyway, I digress. we went way too crazy and way too meta for
I think there's something about that I'm sure most people that create have is, there is a certain, like control freak like nature to, wanting to have agency over what you're doing, or wanting to like, grip really tightly to what you're doing. And when these things happen that might, alter whatever it is that you've been doing or preparing, I mean, it can be so, disorienting and destabilizing. But I think to react to it or to use it or whatever, those elements that you can't control are honestly a lot of the times the things that make the best art, or like the best outcome. Is just reacting and just having to face this reality that's, very disorienting.
For sure. And I mean, even with the project that I'm in now, the music that I make, it was all inspired because I lost a previous band as well at the time, and I'd been left with nothing. I just had my laptop, which is a piece of crap, my old laptop, and I had my garage, which I don't even have anymore. And I knew that time was ticking, and I just made this music by myself in a time when we were locked down because of COVID, and we had like a 2-year lockdown, and so that was also like a loss of control and a loss of, life in a way. But there are ways to take back that control. It's just about not letting it take over you too much. Like, you have to know when to let go of something again, after you've reclaimed control too, I think, and allow the process of life to kind of just keep on going, which is
absolutely. It's so much. I feel like all of this is such an easier said than done type of situation, but I don't know. I think the most beauty and the most joy in life comes from things that you could never plan, And I was having a conversation with a director that I'm going to be working with yesterday, and just kind of talking about even the process of getting to a lot of the work I'm getting to do now. I don't think that, something like acting was ever a thing I seriously considered until the lockdowns. And I stopped, the rate at which I was doing projects with other people, which, were probably like 95% modeling. I had done an occasional short film here and there, but it wasn't like feeding whatever I was trying to do. And I think just having everything slow down to a point of, you can't even do this anymore, you can't travel, you can't do any of this, and faced with just a very rare and amazing opportunity to just sit at home and absorb again, like, like when I was a teenager or something, and take in new music and start watching much more film than I think I had really had the time to do before that point. It just really altered the trajectory. And then of getting to then come out of that time with, some offers to act or just people to work with in that regard, it was just so, the redirection was everything.
Yeah. And also in regards to control, I mean, I find like I've never pursued acting, unless you count what I do in my music videos to be acting. I don't consider it. It's more like goofing around. It's not actual acting.
I mean, we had that whole conversation where it's like, thing with a music video, it's more performance than acting than anything. And it's like, I guess it's like, even when I even felt this on set the other day when being on this music video, because I was behind the scenes, but it's like the moment you step on set, it feels like you have to like click on this 100% performative. Like for me, that's how it feels. Like I have to click on like, all right, now I'm like 100% performative. I've always got to be on the clock, ongoing. Like you never know what moment can be captured, kind of thing. And I don't know. Yeah, we kind of
Yeah, it can be tricky. I definitely struggle with. I know that this might be a stretch, but like there's a type of spirituality that believes that if you get your picture taken, you lose your soul. I don't know where the fuck that comes from. I should have researched that before.
I've heard this, many times as well.
I don't know where I've heard it. I don't know if it's a superstitious thing or an actual part of something, but in a way, there is some truth to that. I mean, there is truth to that in the sense that maybe not your soul, but your likeness, taken from you. And that's something that's been really difficult for me because I also have, ways I view myself in a particular way. And so somebody takes a picture of you in a way that you're not used to seeing yourself, or with something beyond your control and they post it, they have access to that control and you don't. And that relinquishing of that control, not as the producer, or the director or the person who can call back all those stills and delete them or whatever, that's really tough, I think. I imagine that would be tough initially, right? As like a model or an actor to kind of say, these guys have they can use my image in any way they want, right?
No, I mean, I think so. And you're always trusting other people and certainly not, it's so easy to get attacked. Even talking about the circumstance earlier, it's so easy to then also get really attached to like what you remember happening and those moments or what you felt like were the best moments on like on a set or a shoot or something. And sometimes those are the ones that come out, and very often they're not. And it's a very strange thing to navigate. As for soul intact, I feel like I would be a very empty vessel if that was fully the case. But I don't know. Hopefully not.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you because you just did something for Freddie Francis. And was that called The Resident? Was that a character that you were playing? Was that the name of the project?
It was, I think, kind of both. That was a modeling thing where they ended up doing that like little, like minute or 45-second little film there. But it was, that was actually, I don't think I knew that was going to be an element of it as well. And it was just seeing that come out last week. I was so over the top. It's something very special, and I love that they put a Gun Club song in there too. I was so connected. I love that record that they chose the song from.
Yeah, Gun Club are one of the greatest bands of all time.
Yeah, covered by Roland as well, which I made sure.
Oh, is that a Roland shirt?
Yeah,
I didn't know if it was a Susie and the Banshees shirt or a Roland S Howard shirt.
I wore it purely for the podcast today. I love this well, but it's purely to honor Australia and my hero of Australia.
No, we appreciate you and we salute you. That is the king of St Kilda, the true king of St Kilda. Yeah, I love Roland S Howard. I mean, we spoke about that last time too. But also, I mean, we didn't speak about Gun Club, and that, I mean, wasn't the whole thing about that band that they formed because of a Blondie fan club? Like the guy used to run like a Blondie fan club, and then he made the Gun Club or something.
I believe so. Yeah, it was like through like a fanzine kind of put together. I feel like it's like one of those classic stories of like the musician wanted sign or something, and it was. I could be wrong, but I could almost swear that it was a situation of it's like if you like this kind of music and this band that don't really sound anything alike, and you play bass, like, call me at this number or something. I feel like that was an origin of it to some extent.
Yeah, and wasn't Kid Congo Powers also in Gun Club too?
Was, yeah. I think kind of revolving, because then I know he also went in and out of the Bads as well, and the Cramps. Yes, maybe more notably the Cramps even. But
yeah. No, he's a living legend actually. Need to get him on the podcast.
Oh, he is. Yeah, I've missed. I think he hosted like a Nick Cave tribute night too or something a few years ago at a venue here in LA called Zebulon, and I was very frustrated to miss that actually, because I would have loved to have heard his own take on something that he might have performed in a very different way at some point, and also just a really underrated like queer icon in the kind of underground alternative music scene too. It's book, which I think he published like a autobiography or something like 2 years ago or something.
That's awesome. There's a really good, I'm sure you probably heard it, punk rock podcast called No Dogs in Space. And I think they're from California. I think they're in LA. And they go extensively into kind of like, the Cramps and like his involvement with them and all that. Definitely worth checking out.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not familiar actually. Although does that name come from, is that an Australian movie that
It is,
Dogs in
yeah. Well, I
Space,
think
yeah.
it's directly from the Michael Hutchins movie. No, is it just called Dogs in Space? Yeah,
Yeah, it's just called Dogs in Space. Yeah.
Because I
crazy
think
movie.
that they do that, like a band cover Shivers in it or something, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think they do actually. My drummer told me his dad's in that movie the other day. In another full circle
No
movie.
shit.
And my mate Millie's mum, actually I shouldn't say that. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Forget it. I'm not fucking saying it. No. I can't be talking about people's mums. But I think she's also was related to that movie in some way. The house that movie was shot in, the actual No Dogs house, is probably 10-minute drive from my house here.
Oh,
And I've actually wanted to pay a visit to it because apparently it's still the same as it was. I mean, it doesn't look like a crack house interior anymore, but the actual outside, I think, has been preserved. And I think there is a sign out the front that still has the writings and stuff like that from that movie. But that's an incredible movie, and it's just there's a special type of cinema that Australia kind of shoots out every once in a while that is like really special and kind of surrealist and avant-garde. And we don't do a lot of that. We don't really do a lot of that anymore. I mean, Aaron could probably correct me. He's more invested in this kind of scene than I am. But yeah, like even the movie Two Hands with Heath Ledger, like there's a particular type of charm to those movies, like Aussie charm, but really competent filmmaking and cinematography that you don't see usually from us.
yeah, I mean, I need to watch that film for one thing. It's such a huge reminder, but I'll have to the Heath Ledger film as well. I don't know that one actually, but
Yeah, that's a classic movie. Australia does put out some great movies and sometimes some pretty well, we watched one called The Boys the other day, just me and Aaron, and
That was terrific.
we were up till I don't know, like 2 a.m. and the impact of that movie was so intense that I actually hit up an old friend I hadn't talked to in 4 years, and now we've become friends again. And I couldn't tell you what the correlation is between watching that movie and calling them. But yeah, it just shook me to my very core. I left the place and I was like paranoid from the movie experience.
I mean, I think that's the mark of the best art or filmmaking or whatever. You know, I think those when it just transcends, you know, even anything that's being said or necessarily even happening in the film and just like hit you like that. I mean, that is ultimately what I think it's all about, or at least the most important thing to me. And it's, I mean, you never really know what will connect with people too in that regard, you know, because that is purely an audience thing, I believe. I mean,
For
honesty,
sure.
a great start, but the audience is just such a I don't know, I think that's the real tell of any impact of the film or something. I was talking to someone that I had worked with the other day, and he was telling me that this one short that we had done a few years ago called Channel View, which is this kind of very psycho, like black comedy about like 90s TV programming, and there's all these like a screen of all like the different channels and everything running while there's like a newscaster giving the weather or, you know, talking about the news or something, and then the station gets hijacked and I like lead a group of people and kidnap the, you know, like the host of the show or something. But apparently in its screening over the past year, it's gone to a few festivals. It's been received more as like a horror film or something. He told me the other night. I was just so completely shocked because it's not, I mean, on its head and what we did, none of that was like anywhere near some type of serious, like, I mean, I don't know how serious horror ever like truly is in some regards, but it's certainly not the reception it's gotten. And that was just, it's always such a crazy thing to hear when something you've made is perceived totally in a different way.
Yeah, because we don't really have control over how things are perceived at all. We like to think that we do because it helps us with our egos and our process. You know, it helps us make something that's consistent in tone or themes or whatever. But there's also so many other barriers: there's personal experiences, like lived experiences, filmic experiences, cultural differences as well. I'm sure, like you know, the original Godzilla being played in America is probably not the same as if it was played in some other countries back then and also now. And it's kind of freeing in a way, knowing that no matter what you try to do to your art, you won't really be able to have the final say. I mean, you'll get your director's cut in the way that you want it. You want to watch it, right? The best of your abilities, if you even get so lucky, right? I know it's the famous last words of Kubrick was him basically saying, like, yelling at the producers for Eyes Wide Shut, saying like, "I get the final cut, I get the final cut," and then he died like 3 days later. But yeah, and he's also, I was reading an interview, an essay on him today, and he was speaking about he doesn't like to verbalize his movies most of the time. He thinks that, like, you know, Eyes Wide Shut is a dreamlike movie. Nothing that he can say with words could possibly, you know, equate or equal to the experience of having watched that movie. And I think that's also a really important thing to take into account, you know, beyond genres and beyond all these labels, is like, ultimately some things can't be explained and they don't need to, because there's a visual medium for that reason.
No, absolutely. I mean, David Lynch is probably the other biggest proponent of the, you know, like the refusal to explain. And I feel like his films and something like Eyes Wide Shut too, it's just, you know, you don't, like, I think a lot of people are just, you know, very unwilling to sit with uncomfortable or like unresolved type of feelings and seek out some validation or some true like answers, essentially. I mean, that goes so, by all means, so far beyond film and art and anything being created. It's a very big spiritual question, or just the nature of truth itself, I'm sure. But I think to be able to really like sit with that and have this, you know, disorienting, uncomfortable moment and sorting through your own feelings and emotions, I think it's such a beautiful thing that we get to have as the audience of something, you know. And it's but the, you know, the ability to, you know, explain something is so much a big part of the dialogue too. And I mean, I've certainly have Googled or gone down forum threads about like what did a scene mean in like a David Lynch film, or like who is that character that you see for like 1 minute and then you never see again or something. Because I think we're programmed to want answers, you know, and it's so beautiful to not have them.
Yeah, I always think of the what is his name? The Dirt Man, the Trash Man. What is that character in the
in Mulholland Drive?
Yeah.
I mean, I took the character to be more of, yeah, like a houseless person or something living behind that dumpster or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember the character name itself, but it's, I mean, that was probably one of the first times I saw something. I was like just terrified to walk down a hallway, you know, terrified for really no, I mean, that scene happens in daylight, you know, it's.
Yeah, like we laugh it off, but it's, you know, a pretty terrifying feeling. Maybe that's why we laugh at it, you know, instead of crying at how intense it is, without really being able to understand why. That's what made him great. He was able to tap into that kind of feeling that a lot of us feel but don't know how to really articulate. He was able to articulate it through film.
A lot of like the horrors of humanity and kind of the unknown too, in a way that no maybe horror film in name is usually able to get very close to doing. Because I think that most horror films in some ways do explain or do kind of tie up a bunch of loose ends or something, just not from a interview director standpoint, but just purely from the storytelling. And I kind of creates this idea too that, you know, like how important is narrative truly and what we consume, you know, because a lot more like unknown territory when you just, that's not the point of it. And narrative is, I mean, it's not life as well. Nobody has a full story written out for them.
And lots of us can't really remember many parts of our lives that came before us that have shaped us too, whether we repress it or whether we just don't think about things that actually made us who we are and give too much importance to other things, and anxiety's role and all that. But I mean, even just something as simple as the review system, you know. And while I love people like Roger Ebert, just because it's entertaining to watch. I mean, you know, rest in peace. But it was entertaining to watch them on TV and just like YouTube and stuff like that, and watch them review movies to categorize them in a way, so you know whether it's worth your time going to see them. I do think that entire process is completely useless, because going to a movie, if you're going to a movie for escapism, then sure, you know, maybe there's a review system for how much the movie can get you out of your own life, you know, and how good it is as a movie in a filmic way, with filmic language. But then there's other things that can't be categorized, and other experiences that shouldn't necessarily have to feel good. Maybe don't even have to feel cohesive. Like maybe that's just a framework that we've kind of taken too literally, and now we build entire industries and finances around like whether a movie is bankable, whether, you know, whether it's enjoyable, whether it makes people feel good or feel bad. But what if you just go to a movie and just feel confused? Like, isn't that an adequate reaction to a piece of art as well? It'll unlock so much more of your psyche.
I mean, absolutely, it should be. I don't think that money is usually, at least these days, is not usually given to things like that. Certainly,
No, it's not.
But I think that, you know, people do, for, you know, for all of corporatization and, you know, consumeristic nature of all of like the series and streaming world that we're in. And that's not a knock on. I mean, I think there's many series that are better than a lot of films that are, you know, being made broadly now, but it's there is something about all of that that does require a bow, you know, to be wrapped up, and for a story or something to have a full circle where there's no gnawing feeling. And I think films or books or music that kind of leave you with this, again, gnawing anxiety or unknown sense of just pure, like, unadulterated emotion, it's just so much more meaningful than anything that we can ever like put a like beginning and end on, because that's also just not really what life is too. And I think that's why it resonates so much.
Have you seen the movie Forbidden Zone before?
I have. I did. That's the Danny Elfman, like his first score or something. I haven't seen that movie.
Incredible movie, and very much everything that you're kind of saying. And that was one of the movies I would take when I used to run an art house movie club. For 3 years ago, I would get 40 people who had a vague interest in art house, some more interested than others, and we would put them into this room, this little cinema, which then Aaron ended up working at, actually. But yeah, we would go to this bar in this room and watch movies like that. And it was really interesting, like people kind of leaving very confused. Like it wasn't much of a party when you watch these art house movies. You watched them. I think we watched Forbidden Zone and Jubilee back to back. And that was, I think it's Kenneth. Who did that? Kenneth.
Was that Derek Jarman?
I think it's Ken Russell. I think. I'm not entirely sure.
It's a British film, to my understanding.
Yeah. It's like a British, like a queer British director.
I think it was Derek Jarman then, because he did work.
No, it was Derek Jarman. Yes,
because he did I believe the set design on The Devils, which is also something I've been needing to watch a very long time as well. But I've not really delved into Derek Jarman in the way that I should, because I know that he was, you know, Tilda Swinton's, you know, kind of first place that she was really being seen in film, regards to film, and just nurtured such a beautiful like underground of that whole time. And I think Coyle, like, worked with Coyle a lot, who are very meaningful musicians. And just was associated with so many things that mean so much to me, but I haven't really delved into his work as well. I mean, the list is so countless today. I mean, this conversation already, Terrence Malick and Ken Russell.
Well, it has been a film combo today after all.
A whole new watch list that I have to like prioritize now. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I highly recommend Jubilee. The plot to that is that the Queen gets transported to punk rock England. Like the Queen from like actual medieval ages gets transported. In like theory, that sounds like the best movie ever made. A lot of people, I guess because I'm still expecting something from movies too much, that I expected that it would follow that kind of a narrative, but it's more of like a free-flowing, protesty, slam poetry kind of thing, intercut with footage of the Queen and stuff. So as much as I wanted it to be the movie that I wanted it to be, maybe I should just go make that movie myself, It's still, I'm talking about it now, so it's clearly effective.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've heard it to be a lot more kind of contended in that regards too, because I think it's one of those things I've heard. I think everyone I know who has seen it has said something similar. Like on
Yeah,
paper,
everyone says the same thing.
they thought it's one thing, and then it kind of ends up being something that that you can't really wrap your mind around in the way you should be able to. And quotes, I don't know that anybody ever knows what we're getting into before we go into something, but
No, I love to know as little as possible, and sometimes that's great, sometimes it's bad. Like I went and saw the new Darren Aronofsky movie Caught Stealing, thinking it was going to be one thing. It was a completely different thing. I still enjoyed it, but I thought it was going to be more of like a intellectual kind of thing, closer to his like earlier works, because I haven't seen any of his movies since Requiem for a Dream. So I thought it was going to be that kind of a movie, and I was shocked. It's just a fun movie, That's
I need to see that still. I feel like we're finally at the time of year too where all the more, I don't know if we consider him like an auteur maybe, but all of the directors that I feel like are very beloved are kind of coming out of hibernation. I know Paul Thomas Anderson, the new film is coming out, and a lot of people who haven't put something out in a while that are all kind of, it's just generally the time of year anyways that all of these things seem to start like toppling out of existence. But it's
there's even a Richard Linklater movie coming out on French New Wave, which sounds, I mean, as somebody who adores French New Wave and Richard Linklater, that sounds like like a match made in heaven.
Yeah, like a biopic of that time or something, or
with actors, and it's all black and white, and it's on. I think it's on like streaming. I think it's a straight to streaming thing.
Wow,
like that, which is really cool. Before we wrap up, because it's nearly been an hour, I did want to talk to you about something that you'd mentioned, which is the short film that's set for release next year. Charlie is Not a Boy. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
What's that about?
I think on its head, that movie, which I feel I feel that to be the thing that I'm proudest of that I've ever gotten to do. And it is a, very like whimsical and outside of this reality story of a non-binary character who's, been raised in a kind of little like safe haven that is by no means reflected in the rest of the reality of this world, or ours for that matter. And when that kind of like the rug is pulled out from underneath them, just dealing with what is it to be like a person who does not fit into either like gender binary, but in a very rigid structure of it, and in a way that feels, I've never really gotten to see a character does not fit into a binary gender really portrayed lovingly or with a care, where it's not even really explained. It just is, and that character just exists. And I feel very, very honored and excited to have gotten to do something that does feel like it resonates closer to my own experience with who I am, and in a way that I just haven't really gotten to see before. And to literally be that as well. I mean, there aren't enough words of gratitude for that project. And I can't say too much else about it at the time being, but I'm hoping for an early 2026 release for this to be into the world, because I am very excited for it to just to be seen. And I feel the story is unfortunately just grows more and more timely by the day, and was written on the other side of the most recent election. And I mean, certainly on the others, like before all the events of this year alone. And it's the type of thing that you don't want it to be like have to mean more than it, than it even did to begin with. But I do believe that the story of it just is sadly very, very much connected to where we are as a culture now, and a lot of where we are in just regards to, I mean, not even just the US in general, when it comes to the suppression and just erasure of queer and trans identities. And I do feel like it is a bit of a, you know, like a little bit of a beautiful protest against that and a celebration. And again, something I don't actually believe in the end of the day wraps everything up so neatly either. So I'm still gnawing at the full storyline of it in the back of my head as well, since we've wrapped production. But I'm very excited and very, very proud of this. I've seen what I believe to be the final cut in the last month, and I just never really felt like this before. So
That's amazing. I'm really keen to check it out. Please let us know when it's out as well.
absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Brooks, I can't remember what your piece of advice was for creatives last time, but do you remember, or do you want to make up something new?
I think, you know, after looking back on today's conversation, and maybe similarly mentioned last time, is to, you know, just honesty as an artist, and not make, and in regards to today, maybe not feeling like you have to make things ever that are explainable or forever for anybody else. You know, to have these things that are just honest expressions and honest emotions outside of any usual form or identifiable thing to what might have been seen or expressed before. I feel like that always just is the truest thing that we can do for ourselves, and hopefully it does resonate with other people. And I think that, to me, you know, creation is so much about just trying to contribute to the cycle of people whose work has touched and saved my life and moved me time and time again. And I think that's why art is so important. Just, you don't feel like you are alone, even if you do. You know, I think to create and know that somebody else in some different time, even, or some different generation, even now, I mean, feels the same way that you do, even if you are maybe like physically alone in your life. It is the most beautiful thing I've found, and the thing that keeps me moving forward. And I think anybody should aspire, that is creating something, to you know, just aim for honesty in what you want to do, not make it for other people, because I think people already have the thing that you're making for them already. You know, that already exists, if you can quantify it, I suppose.
That's awesome. I think that was even better advice than last time. And I think that this was an even better episode than last time. But that's also because I like to talk about movies and art.
Me
But
too. I think
yeah,
go all day, I'm certain, or longer than that. But
for sure. Maybe next time we're in LA, we'll pop by and we're gonna go.
absolutely, yeah, an in-person one too. We'll set up a little Lynchian or a sort of set design or something, and
That would be sick, actually. Okay, duly noted. Well, thank you, Brooks, and thank you, Aaron.
yeah, thank you for having me again. It was such a pleasure, and appreciate this